I'll give it to you straight, Mr. Vice President. You stay out on the north side. You come over there like George Washington, I send you back like Abe Lincoln.
He leaned across the table, eyes like cold steel under the dim bar lights, and said it so casually you almost thought it was a joke. You step on my side of town like George Washington. I'll send you back like Abe Lincoln. That voice, God, that voice, smooth as whiskey, sharp as a knife. Frank Sinatra didn't just sing, he ruled. From Vegas backrooms to Capitol Hill dinners, from Hollywood sets to smoky lounges where favors were traded like chips, Frank was the man everyone wanted close and feared when he wasn't. So when he died in May of 1998, people expected a parade, a cathedral full of legends in black suits, old rivals shaking hands for one last respect, the whole golden age lining up like pallbearers of an era. But that morning, as cameras panned across the Church of the Good Shepherd, faces were missing. Not small names, giants, people who once toasted with him, fought with him, laughed under neon signs at 3 a.m., people the world thought loved him, except they weren't there, and the silence around their absence was louder than any eulogy. Why did they stay away? This is the story the tabloids softened, the story whispered for years. The truth people our age remember in pieces, but never heard start to finish. Because sometimes the legends don't break. They break each other. Picture 1955, Guys and Dolls set. Sinatra walks in with swagger, certain he'll play Sky Masterson. He wants it. He needs it. It's the role he was born for. Then the studio hands it to Marlon Brando, a man who barely sang, a man who acted like the world was inside his head. A man Sinatra couldn't respect because he couldn't control him. From day one, Frank stabbed with jokes instead of knives. Mumbles. Wake up, kid. You gonna spit out that line or give it CPR? And Brando? He didn't yell back. That would have been too easy. Instead, he waited for a scene where Sky feeds Nathan cheesecake, and Brando knew Sinatra hated cheesecake. So take after take he ruined, smiling inside while Sinatra choked down slice after slice, turning green under the studio lights. Crew members later said Brando just sat there, watching, calm, almost satisfied. Two men, one stage, no forgiveness. Decades passed, and they never healed it. Brando once whispered to friends that Sinatra's anger was the kind you feel in your sleep. After a strange late-night incident in L.A., he even suggested, quietly, that Frank might have sent men to remind him of respect. The truth? No proof, just fear. And with Sinatra, fear was enough. So when Frank died, Brando stayed home. No flowers, no speech, no polite lie for the cameras. That seat in the cathedral? It stayed empty. 40 years of resentment doesn't melt just because the body does. Now, Woody Allen was never Rat Pack. He wasn't Sinatra's friend. Hell, he might not have lasted one night at the Sands with that crowd. But his absence hit deeper, because it wasn't about Woody. It was about Mia Farrow. Frank married her when she was young, fresh-faced, radiant. They divorced, yes, but it didn't end. Not in his heart. Sinatra protected Mia like family long after papers were signed. She was one of the few people he softened for. Then came 1992. Mia finds out Allen had been seeing her adopted daughter, Soon-Yi Previn. The news broke like glass. People gasped. Sinatra? Sinatra raged. Friends later said he called people, dangerous people. One confidant claimed Frank wanted Woody scared straight or worse. Word is, the mob said no. Too much heat. A director wasn't worth prison time. Frank allegedly said, "You don't hurt the people I love," and walk away clean. Some men say things they don't mean. Sinatra wasn't one of them. Woody stayed quiet, stayed distant, stayed alive. And when Sinatra died, he stayed home, not out of disrespect, out of self-preservation. Walking into that funeral would have looked like peace. It wasn't peace. It was a wound sealed with silence. Some men attend funerals. Others avoid ghosts. Now this one cuts differently because it wasn't hate, it was heartbreak. In the 60s and 70s, Sinatra wasn't just singing songs. He was helping build presidents. The Reagan rise wasn't polished Hollywood magic. Frank funded it. Frank opened doors. Frank made phone calls the way only he could. Put Ronnie on. I'll handle it. He hosted glamour-filled fundraisers in Palm Springs, passed a hatful of checks, put his credibility on the line for a man half of Hollywood laughed at. And Nancy wasn't just polite about it. She was warm, familiar. She treated him like family until power changed hands. When Reagan entered the White House in 1981, something frostbitten blew in. Calls went unanswered. Invitations vanished. Sinatra found himself outside the gate, literally and politically. Nancy's circle whispered about Frank's mob rumors, his temper, his unpredictability. Suddenly, he wasn't an ally. He was a liability. They used me, then erased me, Frank told friends. And those words, you could hear the wound in them. Years passed, no apology, no lunch, no quiet phone call to mend old loyalty. So when Frank died, Nancy didn't attend, said she was busy on that day. People close to them will tell you politely, carefully, the bond never healed. Now here's the strange one. Barbra admired Sinatra like a student admires a teacher. She studied his phrasing, breathed his timing like scripture. When they recorded I've Got a Crush on You in '93, the sound was silk, but off camera, different story. Barbra had a spine, a big one. She didn't flinch at powerful men, and Frank respected that in theory, just not always in person. She didn't like his temper. She didn't like the way women cried over him. She didn't like how kindness from him sometimes came with expectation. She once said privately, he could be incredibly kind, but kindness with conditions isn't kindness. She kept their connection professional, never personal, admired the voice, not the man. So when the funeral came, she released a small statement, respectful, graceful, and stayed home. She wasn't cruel, just honest. Some people honor you with presence. Others honor you by not pretending closeness that never existed. This one still twists something inside everyone who remembers those Vegas years. Because if you ever saw Frank and Dean together, you believed they'd die laughing in each other's arms. Frank was fire. Dean was cool water. Together, magic. But those friendships we romanticize from black and white photos, they carry weight. They carry scars. June 8, 1966. Beverly Hills Hotel Polo Lounge. What started as a birthday celebration turned ugly. A fight. A skull fracture. Headlines. Police. Sinatra furious and explosive. Dean tired. He told a reporter once, "Frank lives in storms. I don't." That wasn't an insult. That was exhaustion. Slowly, he stepped back. Fewer nights out. Fewer shows together, less laughter, more distance. When they toured in '88, he left early. Health reasons, officially. Friends say emotion played a part too. By 1998, they weren't enemies. They were just finished. So Dean didn't go to the funeral, not because he hated Sinatra, but because sometimes old love fades into something quieter than words. When the last legend you shared the stage with goes into the ground, and you don't go after him, that says everything. So there they were, seats empty where giants should have sat. Brando, Woody, Nancy, Barbra, Dean. Each absence, a story. Each story, a wound. Each wound part of a man too big for easy endings. Frank Sinatra lived like thunder, beautiful, frightening, unforgettable. The world adored him, feared him, envied him. But the truth is simple and hard. He carried grudges like others carry rosaries. And those grudges outlived him. Maybe he deserved forgiveness. Maybe he didn't want it. All we know is this. When the curtains fell, the applause didn't come from everyone he once called friend. And in that hushed church, surrounded by roses, cameras, and legends who loved him and legends who left him, you could almost hear it. Silence. Heavy as regret. Cold as loyalty gone stale. And somewhere, in some smoky bar beyond whatever comes next, you can imagine Frank Sinatra lighting a cigarette, smirking, and saying, "Kid, that's life."